Hey everybody, welcome back to another week and some more new product from the folks at Shimano. If you guys can do me a favor, before we get into this, if you haven't seen it or heard of it, you're gonna wanna know about this one. Do me a favor, click like and subscribe down below. That'll help make sure that these videos get into your feed, because the crazy thing is like 89% of the people who watch our videos aren't even subscribed to the channel. So if you could do that, let's get that rocking. But the big thing is, Shimano dropped a new lure on the market at iCast this year, and this is the Armajoint Swimbait. I've heard people call it a glide. I made the mistake the first time I saw it of calling it a glide, but it is technically a swimbait, being a three-piece bait. But it's got a lot of technology, and I want to kind of go through it with you guys because I've fished it, and it is incredibly impressive on a number of counts, both casting and the action you get out of it. So let's just break this thing down from start to finish. The world of swim baits is getting bigger every time I think about it. You see more and more guys throwing these big baits for big bass. And it's not just big bass that eat swim baits. I mean, I use this to show me smallmouth on flats because they are so curious they will come up to the natural swimming action. Now, the Armajoint 190Sf, so it's 190 mils long or 7.5 inches, I believe, weighs in at 1 7/8 ounces. So it's not a super heavy bait. At 7.5 inches, I don't consider it to be very heavy at all. But the technology in this bait is really what matters. First thing you're gonna notice, Flashboost. So that's that new mirror foil you've seen on all the world baits that Shimano has introduced in the last year and a half. But that little mirror foil that's suspended on springs, even when you pause the bait, you can see I'm not moving it, emits light, and that is going to be a monstrous trigger, especially in clear water lakes. So many places, whether you're in California or you're fishing Ontario or northern US, anywhere there's clear water, that's going to be a big thing. The other thing is Scaleboost. So there's 5 models in this, 5 colors I should say, and the 5 colors all have Scaleboost, which is a holographic etched scale pattern that changes colors as you see different angles. So if I get real close to this, and I've got some studio shots, I'll show you what that Scaleboost looks like. But the big one is actually the casting system on this. Now, Jet Boost on all of the other world baits was the way that we used weight transfer to get the baits out further and become incredibly good at casting. Well, there's a new boost concept here, and it's called Arma Boost. If you look in the center of the bait, there's actually a magnet. So when the bait is swimming, the magnet helps hold the attachment in the center to give the bait that supernatural S gliding pattern. But when you cast, it breaks free of that magnet, and then the bait folds just like this and heads out this way. The amazing thing is, if you cast one of these, it actually gets you like 45% more casting distance. So this bait that only weighs 1 7/8 ounce, we were throwing it over 200 feet on a bait caster using 20-pound fluorocarbon. So you're gonna need a reel that has good line capacity. I'm going to recommend at a minimum a Corrado 200K or the new Corrado DC 200, or even better would be the 300 Corrado K. That would be a perfect reel for throwing a bait like this, because this Arma Boost technology goes a super long way. Now, when you get them in the pack, you're going to notice there's a rubber tail here. It comes with 1 extra inside the pack as well, so you have 1 replacement tail. Fits in really well, secured with a pin on the bottom. And in terms of the actual bait itself, when you're throwing this, the one thing I've noticed is a lot of people with swim baits want it to have a bunch of different retrieve options. This one has that. When I pointed my rod at the bait, it's a high float. It's going to come right up to the surface. It'll run just under the surface, so it's rated 0 to 1 feet. But the S pattern, if you pick your rod up and point up high and you're reeling it quickly, it'll wake the water with an S-bend, which I think is going to be, in certain situations, just killer. From inshore saltwater to stripers to a number of situations to even big bass. But when you lower your rod tip, then you can change your pace or your cadence, and the bait has this really supernatural S-bend to it. But when you pause it and feed your line back to the bait will actually turn around very easily. It folds and turns around to look at the fish. So that is a trigger. It's been a trigger and a key feature of so many swim baits over the years, and this one has it. The Armajoint swim bait actually has that. So that's the new thing. When you're picking your tackle to throw something like this. I'm going to show you what I was throwing it on. I had this rigged up on the Corrado 200 DC on a G Loomis heavy cranking rod. Now this rod is rated to 2.5 ounces. It's 7 foot 11 inches, and I have 20-pound fluorocarbon, and I was actually using the 7 gear ratio on this. So I really found that whether I wanted to work it super slow or I wanted to burn it in situations, that 7 gear for me was perfect. For some people, you guys may want a lower gear, a 6.3 to 1 or a 5 something to 1 like a Corrado PG. Or you may want to burn it, like striper fishing, I may want to go to an XG, so an 8.3, 8.4, or 8.5 to 1. The big thing is I threw it on pure fluorocarbon. I was throwing on Sunline FC Sniper, 20 pound. I think 20 or 25 pound is going to work perfectly for this bait. And I mean, it really casts a country mile. That's one thing I noticed about this combo. Long rod, rated to 2.5 ounces. It's got the proper rating. It's got that parabolic bend because this is a cranking rod. So I would recommend picking a cranking, big deep cranking, or a swim bait specific rod that has more of that parabolic bend that's going to absorb that eat that's going to happen so many times right by the boat. And with treble hooks, it's going to be helpful big time. One last feature to talk about. If you look at the treble hooks, the way they sit, right now they're dangling. There's actually a hook keeper up underneath that you can snap the treble hooks into the bottom, and that's going to keep them up tight. So that'll stop them from swinging around, okay, and scratching the surface or tangling on the line. But when you get bit, very simply, they'll pop free and give the fish less leverage to using the weight of 1 7/8 ounces to actually do that. So another cool feature, and you can see that that's right up underneath the bait. Okay, so that's just a little, take the eye of the hook, click it in, you can pop it out just as easily. Okay, very, very cool, very tricked out bait. One thing about this bait I will also say, price. $42 or $43.99 US MSRP. So really in the world of swim baits where I've seen them over $200, not that bad at all. So guys, there it is. You might want to check this one out. This is the new Armajoint swim bait, 190SF from Shimano, got released at iCast just this past month. If you're a swim bait thrower, this is one you're going to want to add to your arsenal. Pick one of the 5 colors that matches your forage, and you should be good to go. Do me another favor, guys. Talked about it at the beginning. Click subscribe down below. Or if you're a swim bait thrower, do me a favor. Leave a comment or questions. If you have questions about setting yourself up with this bait, drop a comment below. We love answering, guys. We'll get to as many questions as we possibly can. And I thank everybody for tuning in. We've had a bunch of people asking questions since we've been dropping all these new products. And I'll continue to do my best to get to every single one of them. Take care, guys, and I hope you're catching fish.